Hey everybody, this is stock chart of the day for November 7th. So be a quick one today because I just did a trading update for my paying members. And the lifetime members. Anyhow, so this is the Japanese bond, and this is a really interesting stock chart to me because even though it's our chart to me, because for years and years and years, basically thought everyone has thought, this is going back to the 1990, back when Japan was still booming. And, since their real estate bubble bust, Japan, we all know, has never really recovered. They've tried everything that the U.S. has tried since the U.S. real estate bust in 2008, and really since the dot-com bust in 2001, 2002, is that Japan has tried to basically, paper things over with printed money, cheap money, etc. Now Japan's debt is mostly domestically owned, so they were able to, kind of keep this game rolling. And the more than most in Japan, for the most part, always had a large current account and trade surpluses, so they could subsidize their government deficits with that. So what we saw is rates went from over 8%. That's right when they stopped raising rates to kind of burst the bubble in 1990 to negative interest rates, negative about 0.25% about 2016 and 2019. And then stayed around zero for a while. So Japan had because their debt is so much higher, it's 260% of GDP. Japan has a lot less leeway for rates to go higher because the government just can't afford the interest expenditure. So first they try to cap rates at a quarter, and then at 50 basis points, and it hasn't worked. And now I think they're up to around a percent as being the cap, and it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And the problem is Japan, at say 2 to 3%, is essentially bankrupt. The interest payment on the debt would essentially wipe them out. Like the U.S. would probably need about 8% for that to happen because the debt is a lot lower in the U.S. But I would say, yeah, Japan at around 2% would be in a lot of trouble. Now remember, a lot of this debt is actually owned by the government, so it becomes a bit of almost like a Ponzi scheme in that even though they're racking up debt, some of the debt, just the interest payments, then go to the central bank, who puts that back to the treasury. So that's why these countries' debt to GDPs aren't like real in terms of Japan's 260. It's probably really like 150, 180 or something, because the central bank owns so much debt. But I just think the more interesting thing is everyone thought that Japan deflation was going to last forever. You can see back here in 99 is when we first went under 1%. So basically we flirted with that. And most of the last 20 years since 2003, Japan has been under 1%. And everyone thought this is going to last forever. Japan wasn't going to see it. Now you can really see it on a 5-year chart where, it actually bottomed pre-COVID. Most countries, bottomed their interest rates during COVID, but Japan was a little different. But anyhow, went from, again, negative 0.25%, 2.87%. The Japanese yen has been getting hurt a lot too. And of course, Japan, with their inflation problems like everywhere else, they have less leeway. They can't raise rates to 5% like the US has done, like Canada done, like the UK has done, because again, their debt is so high. So stock chart of the day, I just wanted to show you that, yeah, countries can lose control. Maybe the bond vigilantes are coming back. And of course, the issue in Japan too, this makes their situation also unique, is like, unlike countries like Canada or the US, which have large mining industries, oil and gas industries, don't have to import all their resources. Japan has virtually no natural resources. They have to import a lot of their energy, a lot of their food, a lot of steel that they use at their. Of course, Japan is still a large car maker, so that lower yen, also squeezes margins of companies, causes inflation, et cetera, et cetera. So Japan might be the first of the industrialized countries. We've seen high inflation that maybe really experiences a debt-induced inflationary type cycle. So we'll see what happens. Japan has a very stable society. They don't have a lot of immigration, so they don't have any really social strife in the country, but we'll have to see what happens. But again, I just want to show you, this is something that people did not think would happen. Like when we have been under 1%, and really, in the last 10 years, for the most part, going back, you can see under 1%, and really under 0.5% going back to 2015. So for nearly, 7, 8 years, people just thought that this would never happen again in Japan. And now we are seeing higher interest rates, and we're going to see how that affects them going forward. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the stock chart of the day. It kind of shows you that despite what everyone told us about, like inflation never coming back, that these governments can run, deficits forever, et cetera, et cetera, that could happen. Anyhow, that it could happen. And now Japan is showing you that it has been happening there. So, and like I said, Japan does not have a lot of leeway, because of their debt situation.